I'm Ezra Levan. It's June 20th, and you're watching Battleground. Oh, hi, folks. Nice to have you back. I'm Ezra Levan. I'm the president of the Rebel Media. We're based here in our world headquarters, in a bunker in an undisclosed location in Canada. But we have friends around the world. One of our friends is Tommy Robinson, who used to work for us for about a year. He went independent, but we stayed in some touch. And in fact, we had some plans, believe it or not. We were talking about plans, at least. Tommy wanted to have a welcome to Donald Trump rally. He called it a festival, actually. And we were talking about, well, would we help and what would we do? Because Tommy thinks big. And then, of course, he was arrested by 7 cops for reporting outside a rape gang trial, and he was within hours thrown into prison for a 13-month sentence. We are assisting with his crowdfunding of his legal defense, and I'm pleased to say that there is an appeal that will be filed, an appeal on various things that were unusual and improper in Tommy's lawyer's view. So I'm delighted that we have a small role in hopefully righting the wrongs there. But many thousands of people, in fact, tens of thousands of people around the world have also done their thing, not a legal thing, of course, but a protest, a demonstration. Hundreds of thousands have signed petitions, have talked about this online and Twitter, but tens of thousands have been at physical manifestations, especially in London, also in Leeds, where Tommy was arrested, and around the world. We've shown you clips from here in Toronto of a Support Tommy rally. I've seen Support Tommy rallies on various continents. Even one in Israel I saw the other day outside the British Embassy. And I think it's exciting because I think that there's been a momentum, there's been a growth in support for Tommy, not an atrophying of support. And people who were once sort of skeptical and wary of coming out for Tommy are saying, you know what? 10,000, 15,000 people are meeting on the street for Tommy. It's not a fringe thing anymore. And look at them. They're not just soccer hooligans, which is how the mainstream media disparages Tommy's friends. They're severely normal people of various classes. One of the things that bothers me about the UK is how the fancy folks disparage the working classes, and they have no voice. And Labour, which once claimed to be the voice of the working man in the UK, is not that. And it's so interesting to me how Tommy, I think, has a better read on the working class in the UK than the Labour Party does. Tommy's strength is in Labour-dominated cities like Sunderland. I use that as an example because I've been there so many times with Tommy. So all these fancy people, or the lovies, as they're called, lovies is sort of like a red carpet celebrity type. So the lovies, but also the Labourites, and some Muslim Brotherhood types, some Islamic action types, they have been upset with this public support. Now, I want to show you a letter that they sent to where? Well, to the Guardian, which is like the in-house press organ for the Labour Party. Now, I want to read you this letter, and I want to look at some of the fancy people who have signed it. They're upset that severely normal people are showing up for Tommy, and they don't know what to do about it because, Tommy's not supposed to have support. He's supposed to be a criminal or a hooligan, and putting him in jail was supposed to shut him up, and this isn't how it's supposed to work. Let's put up on the screen this article. We must come together to fight the resurgent racist right. What were you talking about, the racist right? Tommy's not racist. I would say he's right-wing, but, no more right-wing than he's within one standard deviation of the norm, I suppose I'd say. Tommy is not right-wing unless right-wing means you're against rape gangs and the Islamification of the indigenous British culture. Racist, I think I've told you the story before. The very first time that I met Tommy, I met him with his best friend since childhood. Who said, so that's my buddy, and told me his name. I'm not going to say his name right now. Is black. That's no big deal. To say that Tommy is racist is simply false. I think Tommy knows more friends who are visible minorities than any of his white critics, certainly more than The Guardian. And Tommy has a special rapport with Sikh people because he likes Sikhs. Sikhs are patriots. Sikhs have been patriotic supporters of the British Empire for centuries. And Sikhs are also the victims of Muslim grooming gangs, by the way. Anyhow, let me read some more from this Guardian article. The deck there, which is a fancy way of saying a subheadline, over 50 parliamentarians, trade unionists, faith leaders, and anti-racism campaigners, so you know they're legit, sign a letter warning of an emboldened far right. Oh, I thought they just said he was right. Now they're saying far right and saying we must defend our multicultural society. Tommy's life is more multicultural in real life than the Guardian's newsroom, and I have seen that with my own eyes. Tommy mixes naturally, easily, normally with people of different races because that's where he comes from. Tommy comes from Luton, which is one of the most multiracial cities. And back then, the working class poor and the black community were together. That's why Tommy's friends are of every color in the rainbow. The idea that the lily white, the so white they're pink Guardian would give Tommy a lecture is just a laugh. But let's read some more. The 15,000 strong, violent, far-right protest to free Tommy Robinson on Saturday, the 9th of June, has raised major questions for all those who value our diversity. Really? That was an incredibly diverse rally. In fact, it had Muslim speakers, there were Sikhs in attendance, Red Pill Phil was live streaming the thing, there was even a transgender, transvestite activist. I mean, like I say, more diverse than the Guardian. I'll keep reading. The racist right was using Robinson to reorganize. Yeah, no, they were there to defend civil liberties that Tommy's fighting for, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Nazi salutes and Islamophobia were at the center of the mobilization. Well, that's a damn lie. I'm sure that's just a lie. Nazi salutes were at the center of the mobilization. You can stop lying now. This is the first serious attempt since the collapse of the English Defence League to develop a racist street movement and give it political form. Yeah, no, it's not that. You can call Red Pill Phil, you can call Shazia Hobbs, you can call Mohan Singh, you can call them racist, but that's just like calling someone dummy now. It's just an empty personal epithet. Don't you know we know that, we're on to you now. It is supported international by notorious figures, including from the US. No one's more notorious than those American. And the Dutch Islamophobic right. Yeah, you're talking about Geert Wilders. He's actually the second most popular, leader of the second most popular party in Holland. Let's keep reading. It is absolutely vital that all who oppose this come together in a united mass movement powerful enough to drive these new developments on the far right back. Well, you're sounding a little bit fascist, aren't you now? Donald Trump has played a major role in galvanizing the racist right. Yeah, you know, I'm going to disagree with you on that one there. And so will black voters and Hispanic voters who voted for Donald Trump at a higher rate than voted for Mitt Romney in the previous election and who are enjoying the lowest unemployment in history in the United States. We will take to the streets for the Together Against Trump demonstration coinciding with his visit on the 13th of July. And when Robinson supporters take to the streets again on 14 July, we will protest against them too. Wherever the far-right support grows, so does racism and violence. Let's come together to defend our multicultural society from those who spread hatred and division. No. You know what, I've observed Tommy enough, and I've observed him in situations that are, I'll say, semi-violent or pre-violent. And what I mean by that is some young male Muslim on the street sees Tommy. Typically at a gas station. We're driving up to Sunderland or Manchester, wherever we went for Tommy. You have to fill up for gas, right? From Luton to Manchester, you got to fill up with gas. So we pull into a gas station, we stretch our legs, we go and we get a drink and a snack while Kev pumps gas, right? And it's the UK, so a young Muslim man will see Tommy and he'll be excited. And he'll either be sort of positive about it and say, hey, can I shake your hand? Can I take a selfie just to prove to my mates I saw you? That's best case scenario. Or maybe there's some sort of, I know I got to do something. I don't know what. So there's sort of a pre-fight kind of thing. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I've only hung out with Tommy half a dozen times, let's say. So you can just imagine how common it is in his life. I see some super chats, by the way. I'll get to them in a moment. Now, if Tommy was not Tommy Robinson, I know how those fights would end. They would end with the antagonist on the ground because Tommy knows how to fight. Tommy's a boxer. But because Tommy is who he is, he doesn't do that. He videotapes everything because he knows he's going to need legal evidence if the cops come, because the cops will assume Tommy was the antagonist. The cops will assume Tommy picked the fight, right? Antifa. Can you call up two videos for me, Hannah? One is the McDonald's Antifa attack on Tommy, and the other is from Rome when Tommy accosted a migrant. The Antifa is actually the one I want to show first. So all these pre-fights, these looming fights, I know that in Tommy's instinct, someone threatens to fight him. And if this were 20 years ago, if Tommy was a teenager, he'd just clock the guy. You know, that's what Luton's like, I guess. But because Tommy knows if he lays a finger on someone, he's going to prison and the other guy's becoming a media star, no matter how unfair it is. So that's why Tommy flips on the cell phone and he's always live streaming or filming any interaction, because of course it's going to be a lie about him. If the Islamist antagonist himself doesn't lie, the media will lie. Now sometimes Tommy growls really loud to try and scare the guy off, because if you bend the knee, then you encourage your antagonist. So Tommy plays an interesting game. He sort of rhetorically escalates to get the antagonist to back off, and 9 times out of 10 it works. So the idea that Tommy provokes violence or escalates is a lie. I've seen it with my own eyes. Tommy, terrified is the wrong word, but Tommy is averse to any violence because he knows it will immediately be a pretext to lock him up. Do you doubt it? How are we doing on the McDonald's Antifa vid? Keep looking for it. I'll read some of the super chats in the meantime. Super chat, I didn't remind you what we're doing here. You can make comments. There's a lot of comments on the side here. How does super chat work? If you want your comment highlighted in a bright color, you chip in a few bucks. The good news for us here at The Rebel is we get a share of that from YouTube, so it helps pays our bills. Ronald Bell chipped in 10 pounds and says, where has my country gone? I take it from the fact you're in pounds that you're in the UK. Well, that's the thing. I grew up here in Canada, and we love the UK in so many ways. The Queen is our Queen as well. She's on our passports, on our stamps, on our money. And when I think of the UK, I think Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, Shakespeare, you know, Battle of Trafalgar, that kind of thing, Battle of Britain. That's not the Britain I see when I go over now. David Lincoln, $5, thank you. Hi, Ezra, the future of the Liberal Party of Canada is shown by the British Labour Party today. Nasty is the nicest thing to be said. A lot of truth there. And they've just done the electoral math. There are so many more Muslim votes to be had by indulging in anti-Semitism. The Jewish vote is a trivial vote now in comparison. In Canada, I remember when I was a young man, they were 85,000. I remember there was a certain moment in Canada, there was about 85,000 Muslims and about 300,000 Jews. So just electorally, it made sense not to indulge anti-Semitism if electoral math was your point. Now it's 1.3 million Muslims. I've seen estimates from 1.1 million to 1.3 million Muslims in Canada, 350,000 Jews. Just from a raw mathematics point of view, there's 4 times more Muslims. And that's going to grow. And parties to the left, they like being anti-Israel and they're indulging anti-Semitism anyway. So you have all these emphasizing, accelerating factors on it. Yeah, you're exactly right. The UK Labour Party today is the Liberal Party of Canada tomorrow. Hannah, what did you say? Did you say you had the clip? Okay, here's a clip. I'm just going to this absurd allegation in The Guardian that Tommy provokes violence. It's the exact opposite. Tommy's just at McDonald's and take a look.
All right, these are guys with masks on, attacking a woman who is filming them, 10 of them coming after Tommy Robinson, trying to take the camera away from her. Coming at him from the back, attacking him, knocking him down from the back, and jumping on him, but he gets up, starts fighting him, and he basically fights him off. Spoiler alert here, but he basically fights him off and then talks about it to other people. And the amazing thing about this clip to me.
So that's Tommy's video by one of his cameramen that was narrated by someone at InfoWars. That's just the quickest place our team found it. You see what I mean? Tommy can handle himself. But you see this group of leftists spot him in a McDonald's. Tommy loves the McDonald's. I don't know how he stays fit. He eats junk food all the time, but he's fit. He's like a toiger. They jumped him. They put their handkerchiefs on their face, and they, like the cowards they are, that's Antifa. They're cowards. You saw Tommy. Tommy doesn't bend the knee. And he would probably have been put in a coma. 5 guys on 1. That's the courage of the left. Put that Guardian thing back up, because it's so ironic. Tommy's at McDonald's. He gets attacked by the Antifa left. He fights him off. He actually scares off 5 guys. Scroll down. I'm going to go through the signatories of this thing. Yeah. So Diane Abbott. We're looking at a bunch of Labour MPs. There's the Muslim Council of Britain. There's the Finsbury Park Mosque. There's a self-hating Jew, Rabbi Lee Wax. These Jews against Tommy they think that if they help stick the shiv in Tommy, maybe they'll be devoured last. Co-conveners, stand up to racism, give me a break. Bunch of Labour MPs you see there. MP, Labour House of Lords, MEP, those member of the European Parliament. I don't know what GMB, PCS, CWU are. I'm guessing those are all Labour unions. Keep scrolling down a bit. I'm guessing those are unions. Rock, hey guys, Rock Against Racism doesn't like Tommy. Author, I like that. I think there's someone on there. Yeah. Dr. Seema Iqbal, co-founder of AVOW, Advancing Voices of Women Against Islamophobia. I don't know who Dr. Seema Iqbal is, but I wonder if she said a word about female genital mutilation. Oh, I love that. Julia Bard, National Committee, Jewish Socialists Group. They're going to devour you, my friend. They're going to devour you. Once they devour Tommy, they will turn on you. I just don't know what so many of those acronyms are. Oh, I like that. Maz Salim, anti-racism campaigner, stand up to Trump. Yeah, okay, man. Carrie Abel, chair of abortion rights. You know, I've never in my life talked to Tommy about abortion. It's just never come up. I have no idea where he stands. Do you? I've watched a lot of Tommy's videos. I mean, he's done more than 100 for us. I've probably watched 20 of his other videos. Never heard him talk about it. I'm guessing that's outside your mandate, and I'm guessing you are dedicating any pro-choice Brit to being a Tommy hater, and you have no basis to do that. Assad Rehma, Executive Director, War on Want. Now, I'm not sure what that is. It sounds like it could be an anti-poverty thing, but Tommy does more for working folks. He's always doing some small charity thing here or there. So yeah, I'm not saying these individual people are particularly pro-violence, although it would not surprise me if they supported Antifa violence against Tommy. I really don't care about who these people are. It just makes me laugh that they're implying that Tommy is a racist. He's not. Or that Tommy is violent. He's not. All right, I wanted to read that Guardian article to you. Let me say, hey, Hannah, have I missed any of the super chats while I was... Okay, let me just, I see one from Tom Youngjohn. God, please save Western civilization, including Canada. That's a good idea. Harry Hill says, Ezra, can you please sing, oh, Tommy Robinson, in your best London accent? Well, Harry, you chipped in 5 pounds. So I may as well try and get into Michael Caine. She was just 16. You didn't have to blow the bloody doors off. She was just 16 years old. Oh, Tommy. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. It's too embarrassing. I'm not good at it. I have to be immersed in it. I'm sorry. I mean, you know that great. Can you call up those 2 fellas who go on tour through France and Spain, the Michael Caine impression? You know the one I'm talking about? It's just Google Michael Caine impression, The Trip. It's these 2 British comedians who go on trips through France and Spain, and there's this great, they're 2 and they dueling comedians. I think it was a BBC or an HBO series. And I'll look it up right now. Michael Caine impression. It's probably the first one that. This is how Michael Caine speaks. The Trip. That's what it's called. BBC Two. It's the first thing that comes up when you type Michael Caine impression. Go ahead, roll this one. Let's play the full clip. It's the best.
Are stunningly accurate.
Well, they're wrong. I've not heard your Michael Caine, but I assume it would be something along the lines of, "My name's Michael Caine."
That is where you are so wrong. And you can look at my live video for proof, because that's the very thing I don't do. I say that he used to talk like that.
Do you, Michael Caine?
Okay. I say Michael Caine used to talk like this in the 1960s, right? But that has changed. And I say that over the years, Michael's voice has cut down several octaves. Let me finish. And all of the cigars and the brandy, don't let me finish, can now be heard.
Okay.
I've not fucking finished in the back of the voice and the voice now. I've still not finished. The voice.
You're panicking.
Because you look like you're about to bloody talk. Let me finish. Right, so Michael Caine's voice now in the Batman movies and in Harry Brown. I can't go fast because Michael Caine talks very, very slowly.
Right, this is how Michael Caine speaks. Michael Caine speaks to his nose like that. He gets very, very specific. It's very like that. When he gets loudly, it gets very loud indeed. It gets very specific. It's not quite nasal enough the way you're doing it, all right? You're not doing it the way he speaks. You're not doing it with the kind of... And you don't do the broken voice when he gets very emotional. When he gets very emotional indeed. She was only 16 years old. She was only 16. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That's Michael Caine.
What do you think of those guys? They have, it's a series, it's called The Trip. And I think they did one in, I was trying to watch one of those. It's funny. It's funny. These two guys go, there's a banter, there's a rivalry, they're frenemies, sort of. You was only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. She was just 16 years old. And Tommy Robinson. I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay? I apologize. I have to be immersed in it. When I go to the UK for a few days and I hang out with Tommy and Kev, I haven't done that. I haven't seen them since March or whatever. Sunderland, a whole different accent. Just glorious, glorious. So I'm sorry, I can't do it. I wish I was better at accents. Okay, let me get out of the whole accent thing. I apologize. I apologize to my viewers. Here's Keith McIntosh. I'm a supporter, but was wary. Legit? I thought so, but needed to observe firsthand. I went there. The media lies are appalling, and it's comforting to know I base my opinion on my eyes and ears as opposed to third-party slant. I think Keith is talking about the UK establishment, including the police. I've seen it myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. And it's depressing how politicized the police are, because you gotta believe in your heart that the police want to do the right thing, that they're young boys and girls who say, when I grow up, I want to be, cops and robbers. I want to be a cop. I want to be a good guy. I want to be keeping the peace. And how they go from that to being political police. That's demoralizing. I'm just going to read some more regular. Have I missed any super chats? I'm all caught up? Okay. I'm just going to read some. Arjun Singh, Tommy for PM. Probably not going to happen, but I think he has a lot of influence outside the formal political structure, don't you think? Ian McDonald, F-U-C-K, the UK police. Well, look, there are obviously some good police, and I remember this one time when a cop was tailing Tommy all day around Luton, and Tommy sort of implied he was there to spy on Tommy. No, I don't think so. Police could pick Tommy up any moment they want. They know exactly where he is all the time, I'm sure. I think that cop was there to protect him. I mean, that's the thing about the cops. And Tommy said this to me once. The police, when he was traveling once, the police came to his home and stayed overnight because, I hope I'm not giving away confidence when I say that, because there's threats on Tommy in his life and his family. It's terrible. Imagine that, on Twitter, someone doxes you, your name, your address, your phone number. It's not good. But you're probably not going to be killed. Tommy, you dox Tommy, could mean his murder at the hands of terrorists. I don't mean to be dramatic. Anonymous.rev, idiot, he left the EDL, but the EDL didn't leave him, numbnut. He's got an army of thousands. Tommy renounced the EDL as a corporate entity. It wasn't even a corporate entity, it was just a group. I don't think it ever formally was a structure. Because he said it had racism creeping in it. And like I say, Tommy's not a racist. Joe blogs, the reason Islam is bad is it causes hate towards other Muslims, so much for the religion of peace. Well, look, there are progressive Muslims out there. We talked about Majid Nawaz. I did my whole show on him last night. I'd say he's a frenemy of Tommy. He's worked with Tommy before, and he just got a $3.4 million settlement from the Southern Poverty Law Center that accused him of being an anti-Muslim extremist. That was sort of neat to see. Marcus Fu, this is the nightmarish terror that George Orwell warned us. Are you talking about my awful impressions? Joshua Lambert, Tommy is the new Sir William Wallace, one man with the heart of a lion uniting a country. He does remind me of Braveheart. CFC champ, LOL, sword, you rocks. Indian Kid 88, what does Islam say about abortion? You know what, you got me. I think it's probably a pro-life religion. Stu sees the alt-right doesn't, Andy, but most Civ nads don't have a clue about the JQ. Oh, don't get me started with your stupid JQ again. John Zealand, Doug Ford is not bending the knee to the fake media party. Yeah, so far so good about Doug Ford. He's showing some courage and not bending the knee. I like that phrase, bend the knee. It's a House of Game of Thrones phrase. Andrea Hetherington, Majid just won big victory for critics. That's right. I mean, if you could, just 1 second on that, because I did my 8 p.m. show on it, but I don't think we talked about it during the day. I can't remember. The Southern Poverty Law Center, as the name implies, is based in the U.S. South, Montgomery, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, about 50 years ago, and they were there to fight for the integration and the equal rights of blacks. It's a noble cause, civil rights movement. But of course, that battle has been largely won, at least formally. There are no more Jim Crow laws. There's no more segregation. I mean, to state the obvious, the United States has had a black president, and he was reelected, and he was, you know, but instead of doing a victory lap and saying, all right, we won, you know, we battled racial inequality in the South, and, you know, there may be the battle in some people's hearts, but in terms of the law, problem solved. Well, no, you don't just do a victory lap. If you're a full-time campaigner, like all those people signing the Guardian letter there, you like strife. And so the Southern Poverty Law Center has reinvented itself as an anti-conservative extremist group, really Antifa, but with lawyers. And they have a $400 million U.S. endowment. So you got almost $500 million. You got a bunch of lawyers, and you get donations to be anti-Trump, anti-this and that. So they went after Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who you know was from Somalia, went to Holland, became a reformer, had death threats there, moved to America. Is she in Britain or America? I can't recall. And Majid Nawaz, who's in London, he's with a liberal group called Quilliam Foundation. He tries to be an anti-extremist guy. I don't know him that well, but he seems to be legit. So the Southern Poverty Law Center smeared Majid Nawaz and Ayaan Hirsi Ali as anti-Muslim. They are Muslim. And Majid Nawaz sued them, and they folded immediately, paid him $3.4 million. They're not short of lawyers. They're not short of cash to pay lawyers. So if they're paying $3.4 million to him and giving a groveling apology, can you call up the apology, Hannah? If they're doing a payout and a groveling apology, $3.4 million, it's not because they didn't have the resources to fight. It's because they either did something so horrible that they don't want it coming to light, or they knew they were going to lose and be punished so bitterly that they thought it would be worth humiliating themselves and paying $3.4 million as a bounty. Do we have that video? There's the statement regarding Majid Nawaz and the Quilliam Foundation. I think embedded on this page is their video. If you could, I want to show the video because it's quite something. I'll read a couple super chats in the meantime. What's your opinion on the Bilderberg Group? They got done with their meeting in Italy 2 weeks ago. The Bilderberg Group is something I have studied. It is an informal talk shop, like a TED Talks or a World Economic Forum in Davos. It's named after the hotel where they met. And it's very much globalist, very much like the World Economic Forum, but it's more elite. And it just reeks of the Soroses and the Rockefellers and whatnot. And it's like a talk shop, a salon in a hotel with fancy food for elitists. They may talk about certain agendas. I'm sure they're obsessing about Donald Trump. I'm sure they're pushing migrants. They don't have formal resolutions like the UN, but they're senior influencers. So yeah, I don't think what they do is I don't think you would want to confuse the Bilderbergers with, like, say, a cult, like the whole spirit cooking grossness. But they are definitely sort of a private place where globalists meet and plot. That's sort of what they acknowledge. They have a website. You can go to their website and see how they describe themselves. I think it's pretty accurate. I see that we have the video. Let me show you the Southern Poverty Law Center. For a $400 million US endowment that smears people for a living to say this, you know they were terrified of what a trial would show. Take a look.
The Southern Poverty Law Center was wrong to include Maajid Nawaz and the Quilliam Foundation in our field guide to anti-Muslim extremists. Since we published the field guide, we have taken the time to do more research and have consulted with human rights advocates we respect. We've found that Mr. Nawaz and Quilliam have made valuable and important contributions to public discourse, including by promoting pluralism and condemning both anti-Muslim bigotry and Islamist extremism. Although we may have our differences with some of the positions that Mr. Nawaz and Quilliam have taken, they are most certainly not anti-Muslim extremists. We would like to extend our sincerest apologies to Mr. Nawaz, Quilliam, and our readers for the error, and we wish Mr. Nawaz and Quilliam all the best.
That's quite something. That is quite something. It was just amazing. Before I move on to the next subject, I see there's a super chat from Ian Baxter, £5. Perhaps I should start a Tell Data website measuring attacks on the far right, racist and Islamophobic. That's a reference to Tell Mama, which is a UK snitch line for anyone who saw some mean tweet about Islam. Have I caught up with all the super chats, Hannah? All right. I want to take a break. Listen, I love talking about Tommy because I'm interested in it. I'm excited that he's got an appeal coming. And I have a connection to him. He worked with us for a year, and he opened my eyes to the United Kingdom. And I have no desire to have him return to us as an employee. He's too much of a handful. But I remain a friend and an ally, and we believe that we have a role to talk about his case because we have the forum, and a lot of people join the Rebel because they like Tommy, and they want to know what's going on. So that's why we talk about Tommy. And I have some direct communication with the family, but I'm not going to retail every little tidbit and gossip to you because I'm actually trying to be of some assistance rather than just gossip. I think I saw a super chat there. Keith McIntosh, the channel was changed so quick from the IG report in Korea to child separation. Where was that campaign started? Who was the catalyst? Was MSNBC keeping the story in reserve for emergency situations like Good News for the GOP? Yeah, it's no coincidence that so many stories, bombshells on the left, are timed when the right is having an important news moment. But I wouldn't say that it is coordinated. I would say it's more like birds naturally flocking into formation. There's no chief bird that says you fly that way, and we'll form a triangle. It's instinct because they are so alike. I call it the media party. They're harmonizing. They know to take their formations and to do their bit. They see. Now, there are people pushing and seeding and in stimulating and tipping and spinning, yes. But it's not a command and control thing. It's just the team. The media is a party of its own, much more powerful in the States than the Democrats, much more powerful in the UK than the Labour Party, much more powerful in Canada than the Liberals. They are embedded political activists who have a press pass. And so they get through our BS detectors. I mean, when a Liberal or Labour or Democrat politician comes on the screen and their name says Joe Bloggs Democrat, we're on our guard because we know he's selling us something. But when it says CNN reporter or BBC reporter, we're less skeptical because they say, well, they're a reporter. No. They're just an embedded activist who can do far more damage and with public resources, usually, the case of the BBC and the CBC. Okay, I want to shift gears because I want to talk about that. You bring me to my next subject, namely the absolute insanity that has overtaken the US media and spilling into the UK and Canada as well, about the long-standing policy going back at least 2 decades in the United States of when people illegally cross into the country and are detained. Well, in the United States, you don't have jails with parents and kids. Now, by the way, if you seek asylum legally, if you go to a point of entry and make an application for asylum, you're not arrested and imprisoned. You are not separated from your kids. But if you break the law, you will be jailed for breaking the law. And in about 80% of the cases, when children cross the border, they are not in the custody of their parents. They're in the custody of human traffickers who are either paid with cash. We read the story the other day of a $7,000 payment to a human trafficker. Or they are paid for sexually. They either prostitute themselves out to the child traffickers or they are brought to America to be prostitutes. It's horrific. So these kids are, in 80% of the cases, rescued. And of course, in North America, we don't put children in prison with their parents. Tommy Robinson is in prison. We don't have his kids with him. That's just not what we do. But let me show you a tweet from Peter Fonda, the actor. This says everything. Can we put it up? Peter Henry Fonda. Kristen Nielsen, that's the Homeland Security Secretary, is a lying gash that should be put in a cage and poked at by passersby. The gash should be pilloried in Lafayette Square, that's right across from the White House, naked and whipped by passersby while being filmed for posterity. What a sick, misogynist freak. That a woman, and lying gash is obviously a misogynist insult, should be naked and whipped and filmed. You, sir, are a freak and a blue checkmark Twitter celebrity. Put up the next one. Put up the next one. This is the craziest. We should hack this system. Get the addresses of the ICE agents, that's the immigration agents, CBP agents, that's the Border Patrol agents, and surround their homes in protest. We should find out what schools their children go to and surround the schools in protest. These agents are doing this because they want to do it. They like doing this, F-U-C-K. So this guy is saying, let's dox these police officers who are enforcing the law, just as Barack Obama did, just as George W. Bush did. And let's target their families and their children. And by the way, this doxing happened. I saw on Twitter that someone went on LinkedIn and downloaded anyone who on LinkedIn said they worked for ICE. That's the immigration police. So this isn't just a theoretical. I think the worst one is his Barron Trump one. Can you put the next one up? You know Barron Trump, he's the 11-year-old son of Donald Trump and Melania Trump. We should rip Barron Trump from his mother's arms and put him in a cage with pedophiles and see if mother will stand up against the giant asshole she's married to. 90 million people in the streets on the same weekend in the country, F-U-C-K. We should rip Barron Trump. Can you call up, I see that in the last hour, Donald Trump Jr. has a reply to that. While you're looking for that, can you put up the final one? The final Peter Fonda one. Sounds great. We don't have to take the agents' kids. We only need to surround their schools and scare the shit out of them and worry the F-U-C-K out of the agents from CBE, ICE, and regular Border Patrol agents. We need to scare the F-U-C-K out of them. Need to make their children worry now. Would you agree with me, first of all, that this guy's not normal? That he's unbalanced? That this is not mentally healthy thinking or talking. Would you agree with me on that? And would you answer me this? Milo Yiannopoulos was terminated from Twitter because he said some mean jokes about a comedian in Ghostbusters, the all-female remake. One of the stars of that was a black actress, I forget her name, and Milo said some mean things, and he was terminated from Twitter. Tommy Robinson made some political commentary, wasn't particularly controversial. Banned from Twitter. But Peter Fonda, Hollywood celebrity, blue check mark, that means verified by Twitter. He's literally calling for the rape of Barron Trump. Let's put him in a cage with a pedophile. He's literally calling for a female Homeland Security Secretary to be stripped naked and whipped and filmed. And at least as of right now, I mean, those tweets are still up there, right? I think so. I mean, I saw them this morning, so I don't know if they've been taken down in the last 5 minutes. But this is just fine for Jack Dorsey, the president of Twitter. So take down Milo because he made fun of some comedian. Take down Tommy because he talked about rape gangs. But you are calling for you have a misogynist slur against the the Secretary of Homeland Security. You're calling for the kidnapping and rape of the president's son. And you're a blue checkmark liberal on Twitter, and that's just cool. Can you put up Donald Trump Jr.'s response? You're clearly a sick individual and everyone is an internet badass, but rather than attack an 11-year-old like a bully and a coward, why don't you pick on someone a bit bigger? Let me know. Donald Trump Jr. Yeah. That's about right. All right, it's 12:42. I think I might have missed some super chats. Have I missed any, Hannah? I think I've caught up. So let's just take some more super chats or regular chats. I'll just read some. Mr. Doug says, Peter Fonda and Hanoi Jane, his sister, think the same way, messed up individuals. Yeah, they're both damaged. I mean, that is the sign of a mental imbalance. To think that way, to be so vile and violent, and then to say it in public and to brand yourself, you're proud of that? You're proud of saying that? Anonymous Identity says Jewish Zionists. Yeah, I am. What does this button do? Says, imagine needing to do FGM on women to handle them. Man, that's so pathetic and cowardly, frightened of God's women. Yeah, it's violent. And it's against the law in the UK, but there's not been one successful prosecution ever brought. Rower 67I, Fonda is mad as FC UK. Yeah, it really is. They call it Trump derangement syndrome. It really is. I mean, listen, there was Obama derangement syndrome and Clinton derangement syndrome too, but I never saw it like this, and never from people with such prestigious position. Chris Rubin, Rebel Media paid for by the Rothschilds. You're stupid. But I should say, I would accept money from the Rothschilds, and they could chip in $5 or $10 or even $20 on a super chat. You can even do that if you're not a Rothschild, because we take money from our viewers. We're not funded by any corporate source or any government source. So you don't have to be Jewish to tip in $5 or £5. It's all appreciated. Fallingdown.us says, if Donald Trump doesn't lock that POS up, then you know Donald Trump has some kind of angle on this. No, so you don't understand. Donald Trump is not a tyrant, even though he's accused of such. He's not like Hillary Clinton. Can we get the picture of Nicola Basley, Nicola being shuffled off to prison? You know who I'm talking about. That's the filmmaker that Hillary Clinton blamed for the Benghazi attacks. Remember when Benghazi was attacked on the anniversary of 9/11? September 11th, 2012, about a month and a half before the U.S. election, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama said that, yeah, that's Nakula Basili Nakula. He's a filmmaker in California who made some YouTube video criticizing Islam. You're allowed to do that in America. But Hillary Clinton had him arrested, as you can see here, and jailed because he was blamed by Obama, by Clinton, by Susan Rice, by the Obama campaign for causing this terrorist attack in Benghazi. They said it was because he made a film that had a bad review in, the Hollywood Reporter of Benghazi. It was such an absurd lie, the media bought it, of course. My point is, Hillary Clinton's the one who sends filmmakers away to prison. Donald Trump has not sent anyone away to prison. Can you call up Bill Clinton? Can you Google Elian, E-L-I-A-N? I want to show the picture. This is going back to Bill Clinton times now. Remember there was this young boy, Elian Gonzalez, living in Florida in freedom. And Castro wanted him back to the island. And he didn't want to go back to the island. So Bill Clinton and his atrocious Attorney General sent a SWAT team, put it up there. That is Elian Gonzalez in a SWAT team raid to grab him away from his family and deport him to Castro's Cuba. Look at that. Look at that. That's Bill Clinton's doing. The husband of Hillary Clinton, and Nakula Basili Nakula. So yeah, don't talk to me about arresting Peter Fonda. That's not what Trump does. But that's what Obama does and the Clintons do. Yeah, so don't say that's what Trump does. VM Parliament, is there a chance Scheer can be replaced before the election? Well, anything's possible, as Patrick Brown's situation in Ontario shows us. I don't think Andrew Scheer has the kind of personal skeletons in his closet that Patrick Brown did, so I don't think there'll be any scandal of that sort. There are lots of possibilities. You never know what happens to a person, but I think it's quite likely he will carry the flag into the next election. And I put it to you that just the other day, the Conservatives won a by-election in Quebec, surprising a lot of people. It was actually an outright majority, over 50% of the vote. I would put it to you that Andrew Scheer is looking better today than he actually has in quite a while. I hope that he takes courage and confidence from that and acts as he wants to rather than bending the knee as he so often does to the media party. Tracy King kicked in $5. Thank you so much for that, Tracy. If you have a comment, feel free to make it and I'll try and read it. Andrea Heathington, or Haitians scammed out of millions. That's right, the Clintons. I recommend watching the film called Clinton Cash. Was it by Peter Schweitzer, is that his name? He wrote the book to that effect. A really good movie. You know, I don't like documentaries, I have a short attention span, but I started watching Clinton Cash and it was engrossing. You can find it for free on YouTube. Absolutely. The Clintons just, how do you make hundreds of millions of dollars when you're a public servant? Well, you set up a Clinton Family Foundation. So you got Bill Clinton running the foundation, you got Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, and look, the Saudi Arabians, the Saudis, they paid $25 million to the Clinton Foundation while they're asking Hillary for favors as Secretary of State. That was public knowledge, hundreds of millions of dollars milked out of foreign interests while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. There's nothing more corrupt than that. I wish we had 1% of the scrutiny on the Clinton Foundation when Clinton was Secretary of State, as we do for Trump's, you know, people say, oh, Trump is just trying to do this North Korea deal so we can build a hotel there. Are you crazy? Why, yes, you are, especially if your name is Peter Fonda. All right, you know what? I want to switch gears because we got another little story, and this is more of a Canadian story, but I think the analogs are there for the United States and the UK too. You know, I mentioned before that when Tommy Robinson was arrested, what was he arrested for? For reporting outside of a rape gang trial in Leeds, UK. He was reporting, and that's what he was arrested for. And where was Reporters Without Borders? Where's Amnesty International? Where's PEN International? These are journalistic groups. These are free speech groups. None of them said a word. Not one word. In fact, I read the reply from Amnesty to someone complaining and sent me a copy of the complaint. They said, "Oh no, it's just a legal thing. Don't you worry yourself." An excuse they've never used before, but they don't like Tommy. Look, don't think for a second that Reporters Without Borders or any of these groups are neutral and nonpartisan. They're colonized by the left. Maybe they started nonpartisan and noble enough, but one of Conquest's laws is any organization not explicitly conservative will end up being left-wing. That's one of his laws. Another one of his laws is any organization that is can be best understood as having been taken over by its enemies. I'm not quoting it exactly. Let me get the exact Robert Conquest laws. Conquest was a philosopher, a historian. Here, let me quote him to you, okay? So this is Robert Conquest. He had 3 laws of politics. I'll read them to you. Everyone is conservative about what he knows best. Think about that. Let's say you're a carpenter. You know how to do something. You know how to do something. Some newcomer says, "No, do it this way." But if you know, but you say, "No, don't do it. I know my trade. That's not how you do it. I've been doing this for years. We've been doing this for centuries. That ain't going to work." You see. Let's say you're a chef. Let's say you knit. Let's say you're an auto mechanic. Like I'm talking about real. Let's say you're a baker. Let's say you're an accountant. Anything. Let's say you're a taxi driver. Anything that you have to know something about. By nature, the thing that you know the most about, you're conservative about, because someone who had, "Oh, no, I think we should do this." Yeah, we've tried that, and we've been doing this craft or this custom for centuries, and you're a Johnny-come-lately, and yeah, go ahead and knock yourself out the sun. So that for everyone's conservative about what he knows best. Ain't that the truth, eh? That's a real truth. His second was any organization not explicitly right-wing sooner or later becomes left-wing. Ain't that the truth? And look at this last one. That applies to free speech groups. And look at this last one. The simplest way to explain the behavior of any bureaucratic organization is to assume that it is controlled by a cabal of its enemies. Isn't that a good one? Isn't that a good one? Of course, it's taken over, it's colonized, it's infiltrated. Which brings me to the case of a group in Canada called Canadian Journalists for Free Expression. So I think Conquest Law number 2 and number 3 apply. Law number 2, it's not explicitly conservative, so it has become explicitly left-wing, of course. And number 3, it has been colonized, taken over by a cabal of its enemies. And again, it's called Canadian Journalists for Free Expression. It's pretty clear what it stands for, don't it? I mean, you can't get clearer than that. I just see a super chat. It's amazing what fake news trendies will eat in order to bash Trump. They're happy to be naive as a child as long as their view isn't channeled. Yeah, you're so right on that. Thank you for that, M. Karras. Back to CJFE, which I think is applicable in the States and the UK too. So just by the way, this is a free speech group, and just the other week they were having some protests to ban Trump from speaking. Can we put that back up here? So they literally were having a petition to tell Trudeau, keep Trump out of Canada. Stop. Arrête. Hang on, you're for free expression, and you say you're journalists. So if you're a journalist, you probably want to report on Trump, and if you're for free expression, you probably want him to be able to express himself freely. But no, they have a petition to keep Trump out of Canada. I thought you were journalists, and I thought you were for free expression. Well, Robert Conquest Law number 2 and number 3 proves what's going on here. They do other weird things. Put up their Israel business. They're just so weird on this. You know, you're a journalist. You can be pro or con Israel. Good Friday massacre in Gaza sees journalist protesters treated as military targets. And they just go on this crazy war denouncing and petitioning the foreign minister, and you know, they're just weak. Oh, the government of Canada must condemn the one-sided use of military force against civilian demonstrators and media in Gaza. Must immediately call for a cessation of these brutal practices, and must use all available diplomatic, political, and economic channels to pressure Israel to blah, 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 blah. So you're journalists or you're activists, or are you... What are you going to report on the news? Or are you trying to make the news? Or, yeah, like I say, it's not a group of freedom of expression. Can we show their their survey, because the reason I mention this, they do a survey on should the government take action about fake news. And they say a strong majority of Canadians are concerned that fake news is making it more difficult to find accurate sources of information. And they want the government to do something about it, according to a new survey. I don't need to read anymore. Go back up. So this, did you see there, news provided by Canadian Journalists for Free Expression? So this is an official press release by Canadian Journalists for Free Expression promoting the government taking action against fake news. Now, one man's fake news is the other man's truth, and the other man's truth is another man's fake news. And you can watch CNN and I can watch Fox, and we have a lively debate. And chacun a son goût, as the French say, everyone has their taste. Not Canadian Journalists for Free Expression. They're calling for censorship of news they don't like. What is going on? Why are you surprised? Why are you surprised? Robert Conquest Laws, Google it. I found it in 5 seconds. Robert Conquest Law, law number 1. People are conservative about that which they know best. It's a good one. Law number 2, if you're not explicitly right-wing, in time you'll be explicitly left-wing. It's an organization. And rule number 3, the best way to understand a bureaucracy is it's taken over by its enemies. Who better to call for censorship than a group called Canadian Journalists for Free Expression? Who better to nod along with Tommy Robertson's arrest than journalists, Reporters Without Borders and Amnesty? Of course. It's 12:56. That means we have 4 minutes left. I'm going to make sure I've got through all the super chats. Oh, I think I missed one, and I just sent it to me. James Flowers, £5. Thank you, Ezra, for your reporting. Keep up the good work. Any news on the explosion in London last night? No, I don't have any news on that. I've seen it out of the corner of my eye, but I have not taken the time to investigate. Sorry. Andrew Sr. chips in £2. Why is he not banned from Twitter like Tommy? Well, let's just see right now if he's banned, because I'm just going to Twitter right now, and I'm typing in Peter Fonda. Is he still up there? Peter Henry Fonda. I just clicked on it. He's still up there. You know, he may have decided to take the other ones down, I don't know. But at this second, he still has his account. He still has his fancy blue check mark. Yeah, because he's a liberal, a leftist. So if you're Tommy, you can't report on a rape gang because that's no-go on Twitter. If you're Milo, you can't make a joke about a comedian that's mean, because we have to protect comedians in Hollywood. Not just suspended, but banned. When Tommy was banned from Twitter, he had 400,000 followers, 400,000 people who voluntarily listened to him. Here's Peter Fonda calling for the rape of an 11-year-old boy and calling for, how can you, like, what kind of woman would even feel comfortable with Peter Fonda knowing, like, you're getting an insight into his mind, that he thinks the way to deal with a woman he disagrees with is to have her stripped, naked, and whipped on camera. Do you got something you want to confess, Peter? Is there something you want to tell us? Because you're telling us a lot more about you than you're telling us about the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. I mean, people can make up their mind about her and her policies, and the fact that those policies were inherited, in fact, from Barack Obama and George W. Bush before him. I don't think we actually learned anything about those policies from Peter Fonda, but we learned a lot about Peter Fonda from Peter Fonda, didn't we? And we learned a lot about Twitter, didn't we? So gross. So gross. It's 12:59. I'm just taking a quick look to see if there's any other super chats. I don't see any. Fast Heinz 039 says Fonda a has-been. Who cares? Well, I care, because it shows the double standard in the media. Roseanne Barr was fired in 1 second for an ill-considered tweet. Peter Fonda's fine. People are banned from Twitter. Peter Fonda's got a blue check mark. That's why I care. Not because I think Peter Fonda is an important person, but rather he is held up as an important person by the media and Twitter. Do you see? That's why I care about it. All right, folks, I think we're at the top of the hour. Boy, there's a lot of great comments coming in, but we're at 1 o'clock and I got to go and do other things. I'll be back tomorrow. For those of you who don't know, every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Oh, there's a super chat that snuck in. Thanks for helping, Tommy, Ezra, you, and Rebel Rock. Thank you, James Harvey. For those of you who don't know it, every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I have a show. Today's show, what are we talking about today, Anna? Oh, we're talking about Justin Trudeau and his trip to India and his expenses. $1.5 million, including $17,000 to fly an Indian chef from Canada to India. 17 grand for the chef. Because, you know, I hear they don't have enough Indian food in India, so you got to bring your Indian chef with you from Canada to India to cook your Indian food when you're in India, and taxpayers are on the hook for $17,000. It's a crazy show. That's at 8 p.m. for those of you who care, and I think Canadians should care because you're paying for that. It's 1 o'clock. Until tonight at 8 p.m. For the show, and tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern for the Super Chat. On behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, goodbye, and keep fighting for freedom.